How do you belong to one faith tradition but choose to raise children in the faith of your husband? Well, within the Jewish faith tradition, there is a program and a class for everything. In this case, it's called the Mother's Circle, and it's designed to make women who are choosing, along with their husbands, to raise children Jewish feel comfortable with the rituals and the practices of the Jewish faith. Intermarriage is a challenge for everyone in a family. What holidays will be celebrated? How do you deal with the December dilemma? What if one side of the family is pushing in one direction and you in another? And what if the children are not clear about who they are and what faith tradition they really belong to? Well, the Mother's Circle seeks to tackle some of those issues and make raising a child Jewish easier, fun, and hopefully meaningful and spiritual. We welcome to the Interfaith Roundtable Laura Kenyon, who is a licensed clinical social worker and the head of the Mother's Circle. Laura grew up Jewish, and her husband Rick chose to convert to Judaism prior to their marriage. They have one son, Asher. Sarah Milch is married to Matt, who is Jewish. They live in West Hartford and have a daughter, Grace, who is being raised Jewish. Now we know who's Jewish and who isn't. And Sarah is a graduate of the Mother's Circle program. So welcome you both to this Interfaith Roundtable.
Thank you.
So tell us a bit, Laura, about the Mother's Circle and how it started and what its origins were and what it's designed to accomplish.
Mother's Circle is a program designed for non-Jewish women married to Jewish men raising Jewish children. It's a 16-session class. It covers the rituals of Judaism and home rituals, holidays. We have some interfaith activities. We do some holidays together. It started many years ago in Atlanta by a woman named Suzette Cohen, who connected with the Jewish Outreach Institute. JOI is an organization based in New York who oversees all of the Mother's Circle programs around the country.
So, Sarah, if one is connected to one faith tradition or has a history in that tradition and has not yet converted, let's say, to Judaism, how are you able to raise Jewish children? Why would you want to? And do you feel a disconnect within yourself trying to merge both aspects of your identity?
No, I don't personally. I mean, I always say I was raised with a more of a spiritual background than a very set religious type background. I was raised a Christian, but my family and always kind of instilled more of a sense of spirituality versus a doctrinated type of background. So for me, it wasn't that difficult. When I met my husband, one of the discussions we had before we got married was that he felt it would be very important to him to have, if we were to have children, to raise them Jewish. So I am glad that we had that discussion before we got married. That was something that I could agree to, although I will say at the time I wasn't exactly sure what I was agreeing to. I didn't have that much knowledge of what it meant to practice Judaism on a day-to-day basis, but for me it hasn't been a difficult transition. I've enjoyed learning about all the things that Judaism has to offer.
Do you take some of your spiritual background and try to integrate it into what you do as a Jewish role model? I mean, because you have more going for you in a sense than someone who's just raised Jewish, because you have all this diversity.
Yeah, well, true. I do. I think that I do. I mean, I've always kind of had the idea of more of a loving, caring, and all-encompassing type of view of God, or however you want to view it. Trying to. So for me, it was easy to encompass other ideas, other beliefs, things like that. There's beautiful parts of Judaism that I'm very happy to learn about and to share with my child. And it was important for my husband and I to give her one identity. I didn't want her to be confused. Trying to do both was just not going to be something that was going to be the way that we chose to go.
Now, in many families in Reform congregations, and I'm sure many families in churches, people have mixed backgrounds, mixed parents, one grandparent's Jewish, blah, blah. So you end up doing a merging of both, there's that word again, but both holidays. You might do Hanukkah, then you might have a Christmas tree at the same time. And the argument is, well, they're getting the best of both worlds. They're getting exposed to this. It's all the same anyway. It's all the same God and Jesus, whose Hebrew name is Yeshua, by the way, in Hebrew, is Jewish. So do you see that as a healthy role model, or do you try to dissuade people from choosing that path and say, pick one or the other?
Well, I think most of the research has indicated that clergy, regardless of their background, as well as mental health professionals, feel that it's most important to choose one. Because by doing a variety of religions, it's very confusing for the child because they don't have a clear set of beliefs. Plus, it can impact them in that they need to feel that they're choosing between their mother or their father. So it can create quite a sense of confusion. I think we do tend to believe that choosing one is more healthy for the family, healthy for the child's identity and sense of self. With the diversified world that we live in, children will grow up and choose what they want to observe in any case. So we don't have any control over that. But at least if we've given them an education and a foundation as young children and in a family, they have a point of reference from which to diversify, and then they can go on and choose what they want to do in their lives. But it's more satisfying and healthier.
Do you
to
hope
choose
that
one.
someone like Sarah on a path, raising Jewish children, part of the Mother Circle, is in a direction towards converting, or you don't talk
Mark,
about that?
that's a really good question.
Of course.
Yeah, we don't. The Mother Circle has no agenda. It really is about education and celebration, and there's not much discussion about conversion. That's not what it's about. It's just about becoming inclusive and welcoming, opening the tent, and going from there.
But is it hard, Sarah, to, in a sense, you're playing a role? I mean, don't you have to inhabit that role to play it effectively? Or, is it a challenge?
Absolutely. And absolutely you have to inhabit the role. That's one of the things that I think has made it easier for me, because I feel like it is one of the things that the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. We're members at Temple Sinai. I've tried to become involved there, be on committees, get to know people, do things. They're very welcoming to interfaith families. Just to go back to what Laura said, that there's no pressure from them. There's been no pressure from the Mother Circle to convert. I can participate at my level of where I'm comfortable. But you do have to learn about it. You do have to experience it. Being a mother and in the home, I have to, when we have the holidays, I'm the one who coordinates the holidays in my home. And,
So 2 questions. One, is your family ever confused by this or conflicted or give you negative messages? And second, we talked about it off the air, but the notion that sometimes the woman raising Jewish children doing Mother Circle becomes more Jewish than the born Jewish spouse. So there's like this reverse push-pull, like, why are you doing this so much?
I am very lucky. My family is wonderful on both sides. My parents, my sister, they completely understand. They love my husband. They love my daughter. They know what we're doing, and there's been no negative feedback from them. And I know a lot of people are not as lucky as I am in having to deal with that. And then my husband's family is very wonderful and accepting and welcoming, and they've just brought me in, and they're very good Jews, and they know what they're doing. And so they've been teachers and mentors and guiding. So I've had a ton of support, which makes it's that much easier, absolutely. So
you're not pressured to feel
I
the other way, that you're being too Jewish.
No. But my husband appreciates a certain level of observance, and his family does. And, there's no, I've never been pressured that way. But I do have friends who do feel like they've taken on the mantle of this Judaism, and now they're the Jewish one in the family, even though their husband is the one who was born Jewish. So.
And that's something that we address throughout the Mother Circle. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is the traditional Mother Circle program is a 16-session class that goes from September to June. Oftentimes people want to continue, and I've created an alumni group called Beyond the Mother Circle that Sarah's been a part of now. We've been together for 6 years.
6 years,
Six
yes.
years
Tell everybody
or so.
about the curriculum of the program.
Of the Mother Circle?
Yeah. What is the 16
Well, we
weeks
go
thing?
through the holidays. We talk about raising Jewish children. Questions that kids ask about God. Let's see. all of the different holidays. For instance, at Passover, there's a 2-session part of the class. The first session, we learn what is Passover, what is involved in a Seder, and we learn about it. And the second, we have a model Seder. We bring in, we do a potluck, and we teach the blessings, and we sing the songs. And we do this all before Passover, so the moms then are familiar and have learned some of the music and the rituals and the traditions and have some foods to cook and such, so that when they join their family Passover Seder or the community, they've got something to bring as well too. So
now, why isn't there like a father's circle? Or so will there be at some point?
You know,
a
that's
father's
something we talk about a lot, and basically wherever there's a need, we're happy to create a program for. I think the theory behind Mother Circle, which has been going on for over 10 years now and is across the country, is that, as Sarah said, it more often than not is the woman who makes the home of the makes the holidays and the rituals and the kids and the carpooling and all of that. I mean, that's a traditional perspective, and of course there's variety. I'm generalizing here, but I think in other communities they have tried Father Circle, occasionally a 1-time or a 2-time class, but that ongoing commitment to be part of a support group, an educational group that kind of lasts over time hasn't really taken off. But we do incorporate the husbands and the fathers or the partners as well, because we do holiday parties and that sort of thing. So they do get involved.
The reality, sorry, for those of us in the world of this, when you step outside of the class, like the Mother Circle, and you go into the synagogue, and I'm sure it's true in churches too, sorry, you sometimes see folks who are much less connected to the faith than you are. They're not practicing, they're not, for whatever reason, I'm not judging them, but you know, it's a minor kind of, they'll do the holidays once a year, they'll do the Hanukkah, they'll do Passover, Seder. So suddenly you, as a person who are not yet Jewish or not Jewish, are seeing yourself doing more than a lot of other people are. So what is that message? And is that message accurate or am I inaccurate?
I would think so. I mean, yeah. I mean,
has that been your experience?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure when you go to the high holiday services, there's definitely an influx of people, some that you haven't seen since last year.
Yeah,
if you
once a year, folks.
Exactly. But again, it's just. Like I said, it's just kind of what you make out of it. I mean, that's the way their families are handling it, and that's fine. And maybe we tend to be around the temple a little bit more. Our daughter's in Hebrew school. There's reasons for us to be more involved. We're doing more things. Yes, maybe it is a little strange if you think about it, that I would be on a temple committee and not be Jewish, and then there's other Jewish families that are not participating at the same level. But I think probably for me, because I almost push myself to become involved a little bit more. Number one, because I enjoy it, but also because I don't have that immediate connection. I have to work a little bit harder to make those connections because I'm not just born into it. So I have to learn about it, and I have to be a presence. It's not just something that is in my background that I grew up with and I can just go to. So I have to actively, I have to be an active participant in it. Right.
So Laura, for those folks who have not had a Jewish mother the way you and I have, who are not really understanding what you mean necessarily by the mother being so central to the role of the Jewish home or the Jewish family, talk a little bit about that, because you are Jewish mother, you are Jewish wife, you had a Jewish mother, and you're teaching this. So give it your dimension.
Well, even Sarah actually answered it in a nice way as well. She said she makes the holidays. She figures out where they're going for this holiday or that, or who's going to come over for a Shabbat meal. One of the things we did in our alumni group class is we had a challah baking class, and ever since then, Sarah now bakes challah every week with her daughter. And it's.
But tell people a little bit about. Assume people are tuning in for the first time and don't know much.
What does that mean?
Yeah, about the Jewish rituals, about what we do, about what the Jewish woman does, lighting the candles. What does that signify? I mean, the whole gambit of what Jewish women do to,
Well, like you said, lighting the candles at Shabbat. I mean,
holidays. One
of the things we do in the classes, we teach all of what's available, and everybody individualizes it in a way picking up observances that are meaningful to them. There's no right way and wrong way per se. That's one of the beautiful things about Judaism is there's lots of room for questions and there's lots of room for individualization. So I believe my goal is to sort of introduce the menu of what's out there, and then people choose to integrate it in any way that they want. But some of the more traditional rituals might include lighting Shabbat candles before Friday night meal, making some kind of special Friday night meals that the family is all together again. It may incorporate some fresh challah.
Challah is our bread.
The bread, the braided egg bread. Lighting the candles, saying the blessings over the wine, having family time, sometimes discussing the weekly parsha, which is from the Torah being our Bible. Right. So that's sort of the weekly Shabbat. And then the many, many holidays beyond what our Christian world might think of as just Passover and Hanukkah, but as we know, there's many, many holidays throughout that are rich in meaning and rich in bringing meaning to our daily lives.
Is there a track record yet? Because Suzette was a friend of mine, and I watched the Mother Circle kind of take off in Atlanta. Is there a track record yet to watch the kids coming through this with the Mother Circle mothers and how they're connecting to their Jewish world, and whether it's stronger than it would be otherwise? Is there any evidence of that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I can't quote you numbers, but, certainly Jewish Outreach Institute in New York and their website, the joi.org website, will have lots of statistics about that as well too. But absolutely, the impact of identity and affiliation is much more meaningful when children are being brought up, learning the meaning and the beauty and the togetherness that observing of ritual traditions and being part of a synagogue and learning about the history and the past, the present, the future. It definitely bodes well in terms of continuity.
Have you seen that in your own family?
I could say that, I'm not sure where we would be if I hadn't taken the class, quite honestly. I mean,
how'd you find out about the class?
Well, my mother-in-law, when we first moved here, she saw a flyer for it at the JCC, and before we had really joined the JCC or like literally had just moved here. So told me about it and then kind of got connected. I thought it was a wonderful thing because even though I do have the support and I have a mother-in-law who is supportive and father-in-law and they could show me things and do things and help, it's just taking that extra step. There was so much that we learned in the class and so much that, this is what this means and this is why you do this. I mean, as an outsider coming in and, I used to go to services with my husband and even somebody just, greeting us at the door or something like, what do I do? I'm not sure. What do I say? Yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. We're standing up. A lot of the little things that if you don't know, you don't know what to do. It can make you feel very uncomfortable. It helped overcome a lot of that. And now it's bringing in things that we do now, like the challah baking and the things I'm incorporating on a regular basis just to make traditions, be it Jewish or not Jewish, just making memories and making family traditions. And so it's been, a wonderful experience. And my daughter loves these things and she feels very secure. I mean, she knows I'm not Jewish and she knows we celebrate, when we visit my family, we celebrate those holidays and she knows, we help Grandmama and Granddaddy celebrate Christmas, and we help Aunt Ellen celebrate Easter, and we do these things.
But it's not ours. We don't own it.
But it's in our house, right? In our house, it's the Jewish holidays, and so she's very good at being able to separate that and identifying herself as being Jewish.
I'm glad Sarah brought that up because that's a very good point that women will also often discuss. What about Christmas, and what about my holidays, and what about my traditions? And again, every family chooses how to walk that line in December their own way. But one of the ways that many people choose to, if they're committed to raising Jewish children, is to go to the other family, the extended family members during those holidays. Just like you can enjoy celebrating somebody else's birthday and go to their birthday party, have fun and enjoy that. It's not your birthday, and so it's the same thing that can be done for children being raised in this way. That they can go to, like Sarah said, Sarah's parents and aunts and uncles and celebrate those holidays, which is satisfying for you because there's some history there, and yet it's not confusing for the child. I think that's what's important.
One thing people seem to forget too is that Hanukkah was sort of elevated to sort of be there for Christmas as a Jewish alternative. Hanukkah is a minor festival. Christmas is a huge holiday. So the real comparison is Christmas versus Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, because they're the two major. So is that brought out? But I guess maybe you can't do that because the secular world sees it. Well, how many Christians observe Christmas in a religious way?
There are some that but many don't. Yes.
So it's more of a secular, holiday. So talk a little bit about, but make sure you give people the information about how they can contact.
Yeah. We're going to be starting our. I'm just trying to think of what number this would be. It would be about the 8th or the 9th session of Mother Circle. So we've been doing this. I've been leading this program for 8 or 9 years. Graduated many people through the program, over 40 women in the community, I think, at this point. So we're going to start a new Mother Circle program in September. If somebody is interested, they just have to contact the JCC.
And if they're interesting.
Interesting, yes. Right. We only want to know. We have jcc.org and the Mandel JCC in West Hartford. And I can give you the phone number. It's 860-236-4571. And that's the Mandel JCC in West Hartford, and we'll put that up on the screen too. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah.
And the woman to talk to is Alana. So has your personal experience with your son, Asher, in terms of Schechter and all of that, how does your experience raising your own Jewish child feed your experience training other women from Mother Circle?
Well, yes. I mean, the work that I do with Mother Circle is a really nice integration of my educational background, being a social worker, having worked in the corporate arena, doing trainings and presentations and teaching, as well as counseling. So there is a support counseling aspect that we get into in the program, because we're talking about interfaith issues and families and family dynamics. So having that kind of training and background myself is useful. And then my master's, and then my own personal background of not having grown up at all observant, grown up very assimilated in New York, and wanting to raise a Jewish child. So I identify with the moms of how do you raise a Jewish kids if you didn't grow up in a terribly observant kind of background. So yes, we have a son who graduated, Solomon Schechter, and that was an enormous support for us. That community.
What that is.
Solomon Schechter is a Jewish day school in our area. It's located in West Hartford, and it goes through 8th grade, from preschool through 8th grade, and it really does help families who haven't got an in-depth background, or those who do. It's a really nice blend of community support if this is what you're looking for, with a very high academic level. And then he graduated Avon High, and he's at NYU right now, studying business. Yeah.
So talk for a moment about some of the conflicts as you described, sort of the ideal situation, Sarah, where everything falls into place, but those of us in the field have seen other situations where there's a push-pull, and there's some relative who's not happy with this, and there's a dynamic from one mother-in-law, one parent. So you have this friction. How do you sometimes handle that? Do you say to a woman sometimes, well, maybe you're not ready for Mother Circle because there's too much discord about it in your family, come back next year?
You know, we haven't quite said that.
Right.
What we have found is it is a process that couples have to sort of work through. They're on different, people are always at different stage of the continuum in terms of their decision. As Sarah said, when she first started out, she said, well, okay, you know, I'll agree to raise our future children as Jewish, not really knowing what that entailed. Some people haven't made that decision yet. And so if someone is thinking about Mother Circle, to say, well, we'll try that, but we're still going to bring in all the other holidays and, we'll, as you were saying earlier, raise the children with both religions. Those folks would not feel, I don't think Mother Circle would be as helpful for them because of that potential conflict and confusion. But like you said, it's not a straight continuum. It's sort of a loopy circle like this. And one of the nice things about being part of our Mother Circle community is that there's support. And if you're experiencing one of those moments of friction with your spouse or your in-laws or an aunt or a sibling, a grown, you know, there's other women in the circle who have probably experienced that. And so there's a lot of support, and there's a lot of opportunity to help figure out and navigate those conversations, those decisions as well.
What I've seen once or twice, not here, my previous community was, where a woman had raised her son through the bar mitzvah, got so frustrated seeing that her husband wasn't into it, her son was moving away from it, so she decided the younger girls would be raised in her faith as Catholic, because she felt she could give them that deeper connection. So she ended up with a split family, two being raised Catholic, one being raised Jewish. Have you ever seen that, or is that sort of a anomaly?
Well, I've certainly heard stories about that. I would be interested to see the kind of longitudinal studies about that. Everyone has to. Everyone has to kind of choose their path, and perhaps that worked well for that family.
What about the universality? People come in and say, oh, come on, it's all the same God. I mean, religion divides us. It's about war, and it's about, Jesus was Jewish, blah, blah. Let's all come together and sing Kumbaya. Do you ever get that philosophy?
I haven't personally, but I think it just to go back quickly to what you were saying. I mean, I happen to know a couple of people who were in my situation, and the woman tried to, raise the children as Jewish, and she wasn't getting that support from her husband or their family. Felt like he really didn't care, and she stopped doing it and just started taking them back to church, because you're going to default to what you're comfortable with and what you know.
Doesn't that confuse
so you have to. So, speaking as someone who's the non-Jewish person and raising a Jewish child, you have to have that support, or else it's not going to work, or it's going to be it's difficult as it is. It's going to be incredibly difficult if you don't have the support of the Jewish side of the family to help you with it.
We have about 2, maybe less minutes. So any final words you want to say, concluding, inviting people to come? You gave the information. So, I'm very grateful to both of you for coming here and for the work that you do, and, encouraging, if you want to say any words of encouragement to folks out there to do it. Well, you have.
I would say it's a great step. And if you're looking for a way to enrich your experience, or you're just looking for a way to get some more knowledge and support, it's a wonderful thing. And it's been great to meet the other women, because we're all in the same boat, so to speak. And sometimes when you enter this world, you don't realize that there's others of you that are floundering around trying to figure it out. And it's really nice to connect with those people.
So I do have just one last piece for people to check out the JOI.org website, which
JOI.org.
is JOI.org, Jewish Outreach Institute. Will have all kinds of valuable information, articles, resources, as well, all about the Mother Circle and such.
So thank you, Laura. Thank you,
Mark.
Sarah.
Thank
Your
you.
names will be up there and all the contact information. I want to thank Sally on the camera, and Richard, Althea, Phyllis, SimsburyTV.org. Folks here do a great job. And Karen, Jason, all do a wonderful job. If you'd like more questions or comments about the show, just feel free to email me, mjperman9@gmail.com. That's MJPERMAN, 9@gmail.com. I'm Canon Mark Perman, and this has been the Interfaith Roundtable.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.